So I just kind of mocked this up, and I can see I'm going to have timing problems, which doesn't surprise me. So I put the barrel nut on there, torqued her down good so that one of the holes in the barrel nut lined up with the gas tube hole in the receiver. So that's all good. It's at about, I don't know, about 70 foot-pounds, which is kind of on the heavy side, but it's what I needed to make the holes line up. But now that I put this handguard on, and since it just sort of screws on, I can see that my sling studs did not end up where I wanted them to be. Certainly not where they were. So this is right here is about the 6 o'clock position. I want this stud to be right here. Now, I could take this out, drill another hole, put the sling stud there, or maybe take both these out, put a little chunk of rail on here. I could do a number of things, but I didn't really want to leave holes in the receiver, or sorry, the handguard, if I can help it. So what I'm going to try to do is I have some barrel shims. I'm going to put those, I'm going to try a couple of those maybe between the barrel nut and the barrel and see if I can move this timing back just a little bit to where I had made a mark there, to where this would, with the nut tight enough so that I also have it lined up with a hole for the gas tube, that this also lines up here so that I end up with my sling stud at exactly the 6 o'clock position. I don't know if it's going to work out, but I'm going to give it a try. Okay, I've been messing around with this for a while, and I think I may have the timing issue figured out. So by timing, what I mean is, we see this barrel nut. Well, it's got holes in it for the gas tube. And so we have to get one of these when it's properly torqued, which there's a pretty wide range there. People say between like 35 and 80 foot-pounds. So there's a pretty good range in there, but when this is properly torqued onto the receiver, one of these holes has to line up perfectly with the, I guess you can't see it here, but the gas tube hole on the receiver. So a couple of things that I use. One is nickel-based anti-seize. I use that on the threads of the receiver. That way, just makes it easier to get this barrel off again if I need to. So, and then the other thing that I needed to make the timing work right is this shim. So this is AR-10 barrel nut shim. And you can buy these in Midway or Brownells or various places. But it's basically just a little shim, stainless steel shim that is the perfect size to go around the barrel. And it's only about 15 thousandths thick, but it's going to make a difference when we go to torquing the barrel onto the receiver. The other thing that I do is I use Locktite on the barrel extension to basically make the barrel extension to receiver, inside diameter of the receiver, made up better and kind of take a little bit of the wobble or slop out of that interface there. Some people use shim stock. It's basically just a stainless steel shim that they'll put around the barrel extension to make it a little bit thicker there. That's probably fine too. I just find this to be a whole lot easier. And this is Loctite 620. It's not thread locking compound like you think of when you think Loctite probably. It's retaining compound, so it's made to go in joints like this. And I forget if this is the high temperature stuff or not. I don't know that it really needs to be. Anyway, just put a good mess of that on there and swirl it around. No, we don't want it there. But let's get a little bit more on there. And the excess is going to squeeze out, and we'll clean it up before we get to torquing things down too tight. I'll just get some more on there, make sure it's good. Okay. So now I'm going to take the index pin, line it up with the little notch in the receiver. That should be pretty obvious, but I'm just going to slowly ease it on there. And you can see I squeezed some out. So if I want to clean that up, and I'll clean up, there's probably some that got pushed onto into the inside of the receiver. I'll clean that up too once I get this barrel nut torqued on here. Make sure I get that, because I don't really want this on my threads. Okay. That looks pretty good. All right. Now for the barrel nut. I'll throw this on here. And by the way, like, you can put this shim on either side of the collar here. I prefer it on the outside, between the collar and the barrel nut. Some people will put it on the inside, but I just went to, great lengths to make sure that the face of this receiver is square, and hopefully the face of this collar on the barrel extension is square as well, and I don't want to mess with that. So I'm just going to thread this on here. And again, I have this on my on this torque tool. So I'm going to fit that into the receiver, I keep saying receiver extension, the barrel extension. And now I can tighten against that, and I should be able to torque it down. But what I need to look for, I'll move this. What I need to make sure is that when I have it torqued, one of these holes lines up perfectly with the hole in the receiver. And if I look at it, I'm probably not going to be able to show this on camera, but if I look at it right now, I can see I'm like perfectly in the middle of two holes. So I would think once I torque that down good, I should be lined up just right. So barrel nut wrench, and use a torque wrench. And of course I put that on the wrong way. Okay. So I'm just going to torque this slowly, and I'm going to keep checking my alignment. So we'll start with about 35 foot-pounds. And I'm going to see where I'm at now. Oh, I'm probably not going to be able to see. Okay, I'm pretty close. I'm just looking straight down the thing. I'm pretty close already. Needs to go just a little bit more, which is great because I'd like it to be a little bit tighter than 35 foot-pounds. Let's try for 50 here. Okay, that's 50. Easiest is probably just pull this off and we'll look down it. And I can see that is, man, it's really close now. Hold it up to the light. Man, I think I could go just a hair further. I can check by taking the gas tube, and it should fit all the way in the receiver. Oops, if I get it in there right. And it's not. Huh. Okay, so I definitely need some more. I thought it was a little closer than that. Try again. Try. Ooh, I think I moved it there. That was about 55. Let's just try the gas tube right away. Okay, now the gas tube goes in there. There's no real resistance that I can feel. I'll look at it again. Oops, it came off. Hold it up to the light. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Right there. So I got it perfectly timed. And I ended up with about 55 pound-feet of torque on it. There. Ended up with 55 pound-feet of torque, which is just fine. And we have perfect alignment with the barrel nut. Now, the only thing that we might have problems with is getting that handguard back on there so that those two sling studs line up properly. Ideally, when this handguard is torqued on here properly, I'll end up with one of these sling studs in the 6 o'clock position. Highly unlikely that's going to happen, but I got some ideas to make that timing work too. So once we get that barrel nut torqued on, we clean up the excess of the Loctite, and you especially want to get inside, because putting the barrel into the receiver may have pushed a little bit in here. So I just take like a Q-tip and swab it in there all around, and then, you know, look it over good, make sure that there's none of that Loctite left in there. And then to let it dry or cure, I usually do it in the vertical position. So I'll just leave that barrel just like that for the next, I don't know, 24 hours or so. And then we'll get this handguard on it. So the barrel nut timing went fine. I got it on there about 55 foot-pounds of torque. Also, the gas hole perfectly lined up so that the gas tube will fit through there perfectly. So that's all good. But then I had problems with the handguard timing. And because as you see here, the handguard just screws onto the barrel nut, threads on there. And it had these sling studs at the 6 o'clock position for a bipod, and then another one I think at like 3 o'clock where the actually had the sling mounted. Well, when I was done, and after I screwed around for way too long, trying to get it back to the original position, I ended up at, I don't know, this is like 1:30 and 11 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock here. So not ideal. So what I did was I figured that this one could work fine, since it's a right-handed shooter, should carry the rifle on the right side. This one should work fine for the sling. Upgraded him to a pick rail at the 6 o'clock position. That should be nice. So then we just have this issue of this other sling stud, which is here, that was sitting at the, I don't know, about 1:30, 2 o'clock position, and not really useful, kind of ugly in that position. I didn't want to just take it out and leave a hole there, so what I did was I took a screw, because it was that hole was tapped 1032. Took a 1032 stainless screw and the old 50/50 machine here. I call it that because every time you use it, you got about a 50-50 chance of either fixing something or completely destroying it. But anyway, took that, the old Dremel, and cut off tool or cut off bit, and just chopped off a section of that screw, and then with some slathered up with some red Loctite, because I don't want it coming out of there. I just threaded it in there good, and it's only sticking out the other side, the inside of the handguard a little bit. It's not going to cause any problems. Can't really see it. So what I'm going to do from here is, on the Dremel, I'm going to take the sanding bit, and I'm just going to lightly touch that up, trying not to hit the handguard, and then I'm off to painting. I'm going to paint the barrel to match the handguard and really the rest of the rifle. And I'm going to try to touch this up, which could be interesting. And the other part I want to touch up, if I can, is this barrel nut and handguard seam. You can see after I was messing around with it and trying to get the timing right, I ended up with a lot more visible seam there. I really don't want to repaint the entire handguard if I don't have to, so I'm going to try to just touch up those spots if I can. But yeah, that's what's up next is painting. I got to paint this barrel, and then I think I'm going to also paint a magazine, and I got a couple of other barrels for different rifles that I'm going to paint at the same time.